Adolf Hitler, Führer of Nazi Germany. His personal reaction to the Ardennes collapse, combined with the detailed accounts of his obsessive behavior in the Führerbunker, provides the most emotionally powerful insight into the Third Reich's final desperate gamble. There is a rule in war, a principle that seems etched into the very DNA of armies. A nation that strikes first, strikes hard, and strikes without hesitation cannot be stopped. For decades, Germany had proven this. Tanks rolled through Poland. France collapsed in 6 weeks. Armies surrendered before they even engaged. The Blitzkrieg was not just a tactic, it was a law, written in steel and fire, enforced by precision, discipline, and absolute obedience. Generals trusted it. Soldiers relied on it. And the world, trembling before the mechanical roar of German armored divisions, feared it. Victory was assumed. Failure was inconceivable. But by the winter of 1944-1945, that unbreakable rule would collide violently with reality. One desperate gamble, meant to reverse the declining fortunes of a faltering empire, would fail spectacularly, and the reverberations would echo through the Reich in ways even Hitler could not control. You are in Berlin, deep beneath shattered streets in the Führerbunker. Hitler is 56, gaunt, eyes burning with an obsessive intensity, pacing relentlessly. Around him, generals and aides hover like shadows. Maps cover every wall. Pins mark troop positions. Arrows in red and blue ink show advances, objectives, and predicted movements. Hitler believes in the Ardennes Offensive with fanatical certainty. He envisions tanks tearing through the frozen forest, capturing Antwerp, and splitting the Allies in two. This is not merely a military maneuver. It is redemption, a final chance to assert the invincibility he believes is his birthright. Outside, the Ardennes forest is buried beneath snow and ice. Men move slowly. Tanks groan through frozen mud. Rifles crack in the bitter wind. Each day without decisive progress gnaws at Hitler's nerves. This is not merely a battle. It is a test of faith, will, and control. Hitler believes the impossible is within reach, and he will not tolerate failure. January 16, 1945. Orders flow from Berlin to the front. The 6th Panzer Army advances towards Bastogne. The 5th Panzer Army moves south. Together, over 30,000 men, 600 tanks, and hundreds of artillery pieces strike into a winter so severe that even the hardiest soldiers shiver through frostbite and exhaustion. The first hours are chaotic. Trucks skid on ice. Artillery shells explode in frozen craters. Soldiers shout orders over the whistle of the wind. Tracks slip. Engines choke. Communications falter. Hitler studies reports. A column is stalled 15 kilometers short of Bastogne. Fuel shortages immobilize dozens of tanks. Every pause is unacceptable. His mantra echoes in the bunker, victory no matter the cost. By January 18th, cracks appear. Bastogne remains held by roughly 8,000 Americans. Mortar rounds crash into trees, sending snow cascading like white rain. Tanks fire in unison, shaking the forest floor. Infantry pushes forward through mud, snow, and ice. Progress is measured in meters, not miles. January 19th. Snow falls relentlessly. Visibility drops to 50 meters. Soldiers stumble through deep drifts. Tanks bog down. Communication lines freeze. Hitler issues orders, advance at all costs. Bastogne must fall. The 6th Panzer pushes forward, but American resistance is unyielding. Bazookas pierce armor. Mortars tear through infantry lines. Men scream as bullets shred the air. Snow turns crimson under artillery fire. Reports arrive in the bunker. We are losing men. Fuel is low. Columns stalled. Hitler slams a fist on the map. Commands grow frantic, contradictory, impossible to implement. January 20th. The German advance is within 5 kilometers of Bastogne. 30 tanks, 2,500 infantry. Snow covers frozen craters, artillery hammers incessantly, rifles crack in icy air. You can almost hear the column counting down distance: 1,500 yards, 1,200 yards, 900 yards, 600 yards. Mortar fire rakes the line. Tanks are immobilized. Infantry freezes in place, pinned under fire. Hitler demands, push through, advance. Reality pushes back. Casualties mount. 80,000 men lost. Tanks destroyed, 400. Supply lines broken. Bastogne remains unconquered. Inside the Führerbunker, Hitler paces. He mutters calculations, revises maps, and orders reinforcements that cannot arrive. Generals exchange tense glances. The man who commanded Europe's greatest armies now faces failure in real time. January 22nd. Reports arrive. Columns cannot link up. Tanks immobilized. Reinforcements delayed. Every attempt to push forward is repelled. Hitler's obsession grows. Fury sharpens. Orders become contradictory, frantic, impossible to implement. Outside, men freeze in foxholes. Artillery shells crash overhead. Frostbite claims hands and feet. Hunger gnaws at stomachs. Each day becomes a fight against death as much as against the enemy. January 24th. Hitler sits alone, staring at maps. Casualties reported. 80,000 men lost. Tanks destroyed, 400. Supply lines broken. Bastogne remains unbroken. He mutters to himself, pacing endlessly. Orders are futile. Generals act independently. The centralized command structure that once controlled Europe is gone. Hitler's obsession, once his weapon, now binds him to failure. Stories of survival persist. American paratroopers of the 101st Airborne recount rationing, sharing ammunition, and standing their ground against impossible odds. German soldiers remember freezing, starving, and facing death in the forest. January 25th. Patton's Third Army begins reinforcing Bastogne. From the American perspective, 2,500 men held out against 30,000 German soldiers. Supplies are low, ammunition scarce. Snow is knee-deep. Visibility is limited. But the Americans dig in, improvising defenses with every frozen tree and abandoned vehicle. You feel the tension of every paratrooper. Freezing fingers clutch rifles, eyes scanning tree lines for movement, ears ringing with constant artillery. Anti-tank weapons crack as shells pierce armor. Mortar fire shakes the forest floor, hurling clumps of snow into the frigid air.
German tanks press forward, engines groaning under the weight of snow and ice. Tracks slip. Crewmen shout through frost-laden breath. Orders crackle over broken radios. Momentum falters. Bastogne remains stubbornly unyielding. Hitler receives reports. Patton's forces have linked with Bastogne. Counterattacks underway. Columns stalled. Heavy casualties. His face tightens. He mutters calculations, revising impossible scenarios, demanding miracles that cannot happen. January 26, 27th. Hitler issues frantic counterattack orders. Columns already decimated are pushed forward again. Fuel is gone. Tanks abandoned. Infantry freezes or collapses under artillery and rifle fire. In the forest, soldiers fight not just the enemy, but the elements. Frostbite claims toes and fingers. Hunger gnaws relentlessly. Morale teeters on the edge. Panzer crews abandoned immobilized tanks, leaving metal hulks as tombstones in snow. Reports flood Berlin. 80,000 casualties. Hundreds of tanks destroyed. Thousands immobilized. Bastogne is unconquered. Supplies are exhausted. Reinforcements impossible. Hitler paces the bunker, slamming fists on maps, shouting impossible orders. Generals exchange terrified glances. You feel the psychological collapse. The Führer, once commanding Europe, is now trapped by obsession and panic. Orders contradict each other. Units act independently. Coordination is gone. January 28th. The Ardennes Offensive is over. Bastogne holds. German forces retreat under pressure from resurgent American units. Snowy roads are clogged with abandoned tanks and wrecked trucks. Inside the bunker, Hitler withdraws further into isolation. His obsession, once a weapon, now imprisons him in futility. Generals act independently. Reports are increasingly dire. Casualties, equipment losses, freezing soldiers, shattered morale. The illusion of invincibility is gone. The last gamble in the West has failed utterly. Hitler's fury and despair are palpable, yet he refuses to accept reality fully. The collapse reverberates across the Reich. Eastern Front forces sense weakness. Soviet offensives grow bolder. Berlin becomes increasingly vulnerable. German soldiers, once blindly obedient, begin questioning orders. Hitler's hubris has a cost. Tanks destroyed cannot be replaced. Artillery lost is gone forever, and supply lines are fractured. Allied commanders gain confidence. Patton's units advance unimpeded once the snow thaws and German resistance weakens. The strategic consequences are immediate. Germany can no longer regain the initiative. The Ardennes, meant to reverse the course of the war, accelerates the Reich's downfall. The human suffering is immense. Soldiers endure freezing nights in foxholes, bullets slicing the air, artillery shells shaking the ground, snow turning crimson with casualties. Hunger gnaws at men who already fight frostbite and exhaustion. In Bastogne, the 101st Airborne survives, outnumbered but resolute. Americans ration food, share ammunition, and improvise defenses. Every frozen trench becomes a testament to endurance. German soldiers recount horror, abandoned comrades, destroyed tanks, immobilized vehicles, artillery barrages, and the ceaseless weight of snow and ice. Human courage and suffering define the battle more than maps or strategy. January 29th, 31st. Hitler's bunker becomes almost unrecognizable. Maps are torn, pens thrown. Orders are frantic, contradictory, impossible. Generals act on their own. The last vestiges of centralized command vanish. He obsesses over numbers, over what should have been, over imagined victories. Reports of casualties and destroyed equipment pile up. Columns cannot advance. Tanks remain frozen or wrecked. Soldiers die daily from cold, hunger, and fire. The Ardennes Offensive has shattered his illusion of invincibility. Hitler is a man trapped between obsession and reality, unable to act decisively, paralyzed by the collapse he created. The failed offensive ensures the Allies maintain the initiative. Patton's forces link fully with Bastogne. The Western Front stabilizes under American pressure. Soviet forces press from the east. Berlin becomes increasingly exposed. Hitler's generals understand the magnitude of the disaster. Morale among German troops collapses. The Third Reich's reserves are exhausted. Its capacity to resist an Allied advance is irrevocably weakened. The ripple effect extends beyond immediate losses. Strategic momentum is gone. Germany can no longer hope for a miracle offensive. The Ardennes, meant to change the course of the war, accelerates defeat. The Ardennes Offensive is remembered as a cautionary tale of obsession and hubris. 80,000 German casualties, hundreds of tanks destroyed, thousands immobilized or frozen. Bastogne remains unconquered. American forces, outnumbered and surrounded, emerge as heroes. Veterans recount rationing, frozen nights, relentless artillery, and human endurance. Their stories preserve the human experience of the battle. Hitler's obsession and refusal to accept reality became a lesson in unchecked ambition. The Ardennes teaches that even the most disciplined armies and feared leaders are vulnerable to the forces of nature, courage, and circumstance. If this story moved you, hit that like button. Subscribe and turn on notifications to ensure untold histories are preserved. Drop a comment with your city or state and tell us if someone in your family served. Thank you for ensuring that Adolf Hitler and over 80,000 men of the Ardennes Offensive do not disappear into silence. They deserve to be remembered.